What up, Raffleators? Welcome back to my channel. We're back in the center of Georgetown. Actually, we're at the corner of Middle Street and Carmichael Street. That is Burnham Court across the street. And beyond Burnham Court is the new King's Hotel. So we're here to see the King's Hotel. We're giving you a different vantage point. So Carmichael Street is the street on which you have the president's official residence. So it's in the next block. You can't see it behind the trees, but it's there behind the trees. That is the president's residence, official residence. And that's looking north towards Lamha, and this is south towards the St. George's Cathedral. St. George's Cathedral is at the end of this half of Carmichael Street. Now across in the distance, that is the new King's Hotel. So people wanted to give me to give you an update on the King's Hotel. That's the King's Hotel here on the 9th of May. They seem to have completed painting, right? They seem to have painted the exterior of the hotel, although the top, that is the roof garden. Probably still needs work. It's not yet completed. But here we are. This is Burnham Basketball Court, named for the former president of Guyana. And of course, across the street, that is across of Middle Street from Burnham Court, that is the Promenade Gardens. They might have done some work on Burnham Court. It seems as if they've added a couple of seats, I guess, for players. And they might have revamped the basketball rings. But this is what it looks like here on Middle Street. Promenade Gardens on the left here. This is one of the few green spaces, right? One of the few green spaces left in Georgetown, the Promenade Gardens on Middle Street. In fact, it extends between Middle Street and New Market Street, and between Carmichael Street and Waterloo Street. And a little oasis of green it is in the city, balancing off the Botanical Gardens, of course, which is at the other end of the city, the St. John Road and Homestretch Avenue. That's much larger. It's about, I would say, 5 times the size of the promenade. So the Botanical Gardens is about 5 times the size of this Promenade Gardens. And they've actually done a little bit of, I guess, renovation work here. As you can see, they've added some beautification. That's the arches leading to the old bandstand in the promenade. But yeah, what we want to do in this video is to take a look at the progress on King's Hotel, which you can now see. So once you pass these vehicles, these guys are loading coconuts up, I guess transporting them from the country. But yes, this is the new King's Hotel. It's about the same size as the Best Western, Aiden by Best Western, and it seems as if on the outside it's completed. Well, they've completed painting. I don't know if these are the final colors. They've also added the letters Kings. Don't know if you can see it yet, but on the west facing side of the building, there's huge letters that say Kings, and it's here on Waterloo Street. Waterloo Street on a Friday morning in May. All right, it's Friday, 9th of May. Of course, on the other side of the street, these are the doctor's flats. I think there is a dental school. What is that? I think there's a dental school somewhere nearby. Well, let's get back to Kings and see if we can tell what the developments have been. So, this is King's Hotel. We're looking at the north end of the building. Of course, these buildings are also part of King's. These buildings are part of the King's Hotel uh, group. And this new building is just an expansion of King's residences here in Georgetown. As I was about to say, this is about the same size as the Best Western. These buildings, of course, this is St. John's College. And you can see the back of the GRA building, Canada Revenue Authority. But yes, this King's Hotel is about the same size as the Best Western, and the design of car also looks similar in terms of the number of floors, the shape of the building, and so on. So it would be interesting to compare once it's complete with this King's Hotel with the Aiden by Best Western. Now, Best Western is a brand, right? It's an international brand. King's, I don't think, is part of the franchise, any major franchise, any major well known franchise. So it will be interesting to compare the price per night, rooms per night, comparing the amenities and the quality with Best Western so that you can sort of determine, you can rank the experience, the King's experience with the Aiden experience. We know that currently Aiden is priced about $100 below Marriott and Pegasus. And we're waiting to see what the price of rooms here will be. Where will it fall? The prices, that is, of the rooms. Where will these prices fall relative to Aiden and Marriott and Pegasus? You can see closer now their King's sign, that is KINGS. Those have been attached to the building. I'm assuming it's going to be lit. The corners of the building, you can see these are LED lights. LED lights have already been installed. I guess it's time to take a look at it at night to see, in fact, how that um, looks in the night. But as you can see, still some work to be done on the ground floor, although it's way much more complete than we saw it the last time we were here. There's a lot of progress has been made. They've taken down the construction fence that prevented you from seeing what was going on the inside of the construction site. And now you can see the results of those construction. Now, this is the west side of the building, the west facing side of the building. A lot of it, of course, is very similar to the Aden, which has, as you recall, 150 rooms or so and a roof garden. So it will be interesting to compare at the end, both in terms of the number of rooms and the decoration, the final form of the building. Of course, beyond that is the John Lewis styles. They're rebuilding their or expanding their showrooms down here. And this is what the south facing side of the building looks like. South facing side of King's Hotel. As you can see, the paint work is mostly completed. Now, the east side is, of course, as I've shown in previous videos, way different. They seem to have closed all the windows on the east side of the building. People have offered all kinds of explanations for that. We'll take a look at the east side of the building now. But it's much more muted in terms of decorations. Morning. So they seem to have closed all the windows and they've put the fire exits on the east side of the building, and I'm going to take a look at it now for comparison. But where they seem to be now is installing electrical fittings, exterior lighting, and finishing touches to the tile work on the outside of the building. There's still the issue of parking that I think has to be addressed. This seems to be the kitchen end of the building behind that door. And this is the east facing side of the building. As you can see, all the windows seem to have been sealed on this side of the building. But they do have staircases leading down. Morning. Yes, there seems to be these staircases from the top of the building. The fire escape, basically. So those are the fire escape on the east side of the building. Quamina Street. We're on Quamina Street. We're walking on Quamina Street, heading east towards Camp Street. And that should allow us to get a vantage point, a view of the building from Camp Street. One of the things to note is of how the center of the city, the skyline at the center of the city is changing, and King's Hotel is now one of the tallest buildings in this neighborhood, in this section of the city, and is changing the skyline. It's probably not the last one. Of course, in the distance, that's the new mall opposite. Right, that's a new mall opposite the GRA building. It's a rainy Friday morning in Georgetown. There's a slight drizzle. But let's take a look at this viewpoint. So that's what King's Hotel looks like from Camp Street, right? The Camp Street end. This is Camp and Quamina Streets, this intersection. Camp and Quamina Streets. As you look north, you can see a number of tall buildings. These are all in the vicinity of 7, 8, 9 stories tall. And King's Hotel, I guess, is also 9 stories tall. And of course, that is Camp Street looking south. That's a teleperformance building. It's a, what is it? Call center, one of these call center buildings in Georgetown. That used to be the tallest building in this neighborhood. And as you get closer to Regent Street, you'll be able to see a kind of shopping mall that was under construction, I think, for a while. I think they're working on it again. It's about 7 or 8 stories tall. That is the tallest building on Regent Street. But yeah, that is what is happening with the skyline of Georgetown in 2025. I'm pretty sure this is far away from the final version. This is the convent on Camp Street. This building has been hiding in plain sight for decades. It's not very noticeable except when they paint it. But that is the Ursuline Convent here on Camp Street. And here, this building is now the tallest building on Camp Street. On Regent Street. That building is now the tallest building on Regent Street. I think it's about 7 or 8. If you count the top floor, the roof garden, I think it's 8 floors. But that is now the Skyline building, the building that contributes to the skyline in Georgetown. Can't see the King's Hotel from this point. As you can see, that's the King's Hotel. All right, that's the King's Hotel. So that's it, guys. That's what's happening in this neck of the woods. Just wanted to give you a view of the skyline here in Midtown, Georgetown. We're back at Church Street, the new church, St. Rose's High School on Church Street, up in that direction. And that's Church Street looking north towards the river. This is the old office of Go Invest, Guyana office for investment.